Let's go. I really got the feeling today that everything is going my way. Now this is what I'm talking about. Every time I see your smile, it makes me shout. Let's go! Let's go! Nothing's gonna stop us today. Get on the bus or get out the way. We're cruising with the radio on. I really got the feeling today that everything is going my way. Now this is what I'm talking about. Every time I see your smile, it makes me shout. Let's go! Let's go! Nothing's gonna stop us today. Get on the bus or get out the way. We're cruising with the radio on. So turn it up to 10. Here comes our favorite song. Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go!
Welcome to another episode of Functions Friday. Today is Friday, and as you know it, it's time for some functions. Forgive me today, I'm a bit under the weather, so I won't be as, active as I am, but then, hey, the learning has to continue. We have to learn, we have to make this happen. So today, in today's episode, we're going to be talking about how to set up your developer environment. So for Visual Studio and then Visual Studio Code. When we come back, that is what we are going to do. Yes, so today we're going to be setting up our developer environment to start creating functions. In the very first episode, I gave you a quick overview of what you can do with functions. In the second episode, I gave you kind of like a tutorial, high level, on what functions were and what they were used for. In today's episode, I'm actually going to show you how to set up your developer environment so that you can start creating functions. And I can guarantee you that we'll be doing some very cool and interesting stuff so that in subsequent streams, we will be using our environment to create some functions. I'm just trying to adjust my light so that it doesn't seem like I'm shooting off, everything in your faces. So a few things to note. You can either, develop functions either using Visual Studio or Visual Studio Code. If you're a Java developer, you can use Eclipse, Eclipse or IntelliJ IDE. Any of them works perfectly. So today I'm going to show you how to set up your environment in both Visual Studio Code and then Visual Studio. And I'll also show you how to add a node module. A node module is like a package that you can use in when you're developing regular JavaScript or Node applications. And then we're going to try to call an external API all through the functions. We're going to build upon that in subsequent in next Friday's episode. And once I'm done, you understand what we're trying to achieve. So first things you need to make sure that you have Node.js. And as of this recording, the functions runtime version 2 supports Node versions 8.11.1 and then 10.14.1. So you need to make sure you have that installed. You also need to make sure you either have Visual Studio Code or Visual Studio installed. You can get Visual Studio Code, which is free. You can also get Visual Studio Community Edition 2019 for free. So there's nothing to worry about. You can do this. Now, one thing I ran into was installing Node. Now, if you are if you just go to the regular node node.js.org and download Node, maybe the current release, you might have a problem. So what you need to install is what we call a Node virtual Node version manager. So the Node version manager actually allows you to set up or to set to download any Node version you want. Uh, Let me go quickly. Let me open my my command prompt. You know what? Let's run this in. Let me switch the screen here. So I'm also going to bring my browser. Where is our browser? And have you guys noticed that Firefox, did some updates on the logo of the browser? It looks actually cool. So let's go to nodejs.org. Now, if you go to nodejs.org, that's where you can actually find the very current release of Node. As of now, the latest is 13.0.1, and then the recommended, which is the long-term support version, is 12.13. Now, both of these will not work if you're trying to set up your local environment and test and run functions locally before you push to the cloud. This won't work. So what you want to do is that you want to install the Node version manager. I'll put links in there. Let me show you what I mean by that. No, I just opened a second window here. All right. So currently, if I do npm dash dash version, I get 6.41, and if I do node dash dash version, I get 10.14.1. All right. So if I do nvm list, this actually tells me the number. So the number of node versions I have. Now this is because I have the node version manager installed, right? So if we go here, let me just do this. You know what? Let me I have zoom it. Let me open zoom it. Zoom it. Yeah. Let me run the zoom it so that I can actually use that to zooming for you guys to see. So control one. Yeah. Yeah, right here. So you realize that I'm sure you can see behind transparent, you can see behind the node, how do you call it, the node org I have there. So I can come now in here, let me escape this, and then do nvm, and if I can do that, nvm install, and then I'll do 12.13.0. Now, what this is going to do is that, okay, I think yeah, I've installed that. So let's do 13.01, the current release. So let's do nvm install 13.0.1, right? Which is the current release. Now, so what the Node version manager is going to do is that it's going to download that latest version of Node and then also install its accompanying Node package manager npm. So once that is done, I can decide to switch between any version of Node. Now, this is very useful if you're trying to build Node packages and you want to ensure that it's working across all your devices or working across like all the platforms. So now, if I do nvm use 13.0.1, now it's going to set my default. Yep, it's going to set my default. Now you can see it's set my default node version to 13.0.1. So now if I do node dash dash version, I get 13.0.1. If I do npm dash dash version, and I'll get 6.12.0. All right. Now that is because I have changed it. But for the sake of, and let's do nvm list. For the purposes of our functions local runtime, we need 10.14.1. So I will do nvm use 10.14.1. Yep. That's because the command tool I'm using doesn't have elevated privileges. All right. So now if I do npm, actually let's do node dash dash version, and now we're back to 10.14.1. So that is the first requirement. You need to make sure that you have your node done, installed. All right. Now the second thing you need is what we call the functions let's do this. The Azure Functions Call Tools. Yeah, you need the Azure Function Call Tools. Now, with the call tools, so this is what allows you to actually deploy, test your node, sorry, your functions locally for version 2. So you can use npm install Azure Functions Call Tools. Now there is a known issue with if you use npm. Because it doesn't set the environmental variable. So if you do if you call function at the command prompt, let's do this. So let me go back here and open this so I can show you this properly. So if I do func, now because I have it installed, I have the functions runtime, sorry, functions call tool installed. Now I used a tool called Chocolata or Chocolate. Let's see, Chocolate. Yeah. Now, so Chocolate is also another kind of like a package manager for Windows. So just like the way there's pip for Python, blah, and other versions of it. This is a package manager for Windows, so you can use Chocolate to install it. And I actually use Chocolate to install it. It's quite simple. So this is it. It's the Azure Functions Call Tools. So if I go there and I do Choco, you just do Choco install, and then you do Azure Functions Call Tools. All right, you just run that command, um, and then what's going to happen is that it's going to download and install the functions call tools for you, which I have already installed. So we don't need to do this again. Awesome. So the first thing, you need to have Node. The second thing, you need to have the call tools installed. And now the third thing is you need your how do you call it? You need your IDE, all right, which is the environment where you're going to do your coding. And today we mentioned that we're going to set it up in Visual Studio Code and then in Visual Studio. I want to do something so that we kind of like keep ourselves in track, in check. Yep. Yeah, I just want to check if that's running 1956. Okay, awesome. We can do that. Okay. Hi to you everywhere in the world you find yourself joining our stream. You are welcome. Yep, let's have some fun. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Yep, I see my people joining the stream. Thank you very much. Okay, so let's go on, let's go on, let's go on, let's go on to the fun part. So I will be using I'll start setting up using Visual Studio Code, right? And so let me move this here. And I always like to create my directories and then create the functions in them. Let's see. Yeah, you're not seeing anything because I am actually pa, 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 pa. Functions, and let's okay, so I'm just trying to open my folder where I have my functions and all that. Okay, so you know what, yeah, let me do this. Repos, functions. You know what, I'm actually going to delete everything in that folder. Oh, yeah, I mistakenly opened that up. Yep. So I'm actually deleting everything in that folder so that we start like afresh. Yeah, so that folder is, yep, so ls la. Okay, cool, awesome. And then I can actually minimize this right here, and for the sake of you seeing it, I'm going to zoom it up a bit, open this up. Cool. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I have a secret admirer telling me I'm doing great. Awesome. I appreciate it. Even though we're not well, we still have to impart the knowledge. For those of you watching me on Twitch, thank you for joining. I hope you are having a blast. For those that have also joined on Twitter through Periscope, thank you for joining. Do, 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 do. Awesome. Oh yeah, I actually wanted to mention something. Well, we're still in the stream, so it's not too late. I can still mention it. Um, so Monday, coming Monday is Ignite. Coming Monday is Ignite. So which means that there's going to be a lot of awesome stuff, new announcement, and yeah, I wanted to show you guys something, some cool things. So let me close this. If we go to Ignite, yep, two things I want to share. So Ignite. Now, there's going to be a lot of learning paths. For those of you who made it there, hooray! If you couldn't made it to if you couldn't make it to Ignite, now it's going to stream live. Now check out the learning path. If you want to do stuff with modding operations, intelligent search, securing your organization, Microsoft Teams, collaboration, administration, Dynamics, Azure. Uh, there is a lot of content going on Ignite. So make sure if you're not there physically, tune in virtually and then have some fun. The second thing I wanted to talk about is Microsoft Learn. Microsoft Learn. So the Microsoft Learn has the Learn portal, which is kind of like now the universal place where Microsoft is keeping all documentations and tutorials step by step for learning all the Microsoft stuff. Now they have introduced the profile, your user profile. So which means that now you get to see your badges, you get to see your path, you get to see that. Let's see. Microsoft Learn. Yep, let's go to the learning portal. Like I show you, I think I have already logged in. I should have been logged in. Well, let me open this up and show you this quickly. Bum, bum, ba-dum, bum, bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 bum. Awesome. So, yep, I am logged in. If we go to Microsoft Learn and I open the learning portal, this is easy to Google and find. Now, so if I open my profile and I go here, show you that. Cool, right? You can see all my achievements and my badges showing here. Now, this is a cool place to learn everything Microsoft has to offer. So even functions, I would encourage you to check out the Microsoft documentation in the Learn website. It has step-by-step learning parts, that helps you to attain a lot of good fit if you want to really understand Azure and do cool stuff. All right, so let's get back to it. So now we have a Visual Studio Code set up. Now, the next thing we need to do is to make sure that we have the Azure Functions extension. So if we do Azure Functions, now I have the Functions extension installed. So which means that I am ready to go in creating functions locally, right? Straightforward. The other thing also, you need to make sure that you have the Azure tools for Visual Studio Code, because that allows you to sign in to your Azure portal and then create your functions. So in last week's episode, I showed you how to create the functions in Azure portal. So we're going to do that here and do some local development and then publish it to our portal. So if you click on the Azure button here, this opens up your subscription, and let's go and open my Visual Studio subscription. So I have two function apps set up. The Functions Friday node. Now remember that when you create the Functions app, you can select your core language, whether you're doing JavaScript, C Sharp, Python, or any of that, the other languages. So be mindful of that. So I pre-created one Functions app for Node. We'll use that here. But then when we move to Visual Studio, I'll show you how to create that also from Visual Studio. Now, there's one thing I want to let you guys understand. Now, depending on the environment you are in, right, you can only create specific types of functions. So if you're using Visual Studio Code to develop functions, you can create C# class libraries, C# script, JavaScript, PowerShell, and Python. You can use any of these languages to create functions if you're using Visual Studio Code. Now, if you're using the command line tools, which is just the core tools, you can do the same thing. You can create C# class libraries, C# script, JavaScript, PowerShell, and Python code using functions. However, if you use Visual Studio Code as of today, you can only create C# class libraries. So if you open Visual Studio and then you want to do functions development in Visual Studio, you are only creating C# libraries. So be mindful of that. If you intend to create JavaScript functions, then you should use that Visual Studio Code or use the core tools. Now, for those who want to write Java, who want to use Java to write functions, you'd have to use either Eclipse or IntelliJ IDE using the Maven tools. So that will allow you to create Java-based Azure functions. That's just out of the way. I just want you to know that. Awesome. So now with all this, we can go ahead and create our functions. All right. So from within Visual Studio, right? Right from within Visual Studio and within my functions folder, I can press the Control Shift P and then type Azure functions, right? And as you can see, Azure Functions, I have the shortcut Azure Functions, create a new what? Project. Right? Create a new project. So yes, I'll create a new project and I'll keep it in this folder. And we are creating a JavaScript. So you can see because I'm using Visual Studio Code, I can create all these types of functions using JavaScript, TypeScript, C#, Python, Java, and PowerShell. So we're using JavaScript. So I'm going to select that. And the template, so right now, remember, we're going to create an HTTP trigger. So we select that. And then the name for the function. So this one, I'm going to call it magic number. And you understand why. I press enter, and then I'm going to set the authorization level to anonymous, which means that anyone can call that function. All right. And if you remember, we said that once the function is created, you have two files. You have your functions.json that gives you information about the bindings, for the function. This tells us information about the function bindings. It has the output and the input, and then the index, which is the entry point for the function. Now, as it stands right now, if I just run this function, it would work. It would just say, hello and whatever name I pass. This was the basics we saw. So we have created the function. Very simple. Now, how do we run this function locally? We need to test the function locally before we deploy it to Azure. All right. So to do that, it's as simple as pressing F5 on your keyboard. That's it. That's it. And then the execution library is going to run. It's going to provision, and yep, security. I need to allow that so that it can run the functions. And then it's going to actually provide, there you see, magic number. It's provided a local host endpoint. A local host endpoint where I can actually call. So let's do this. I'm just going to copy this. And then we can decide to use a browser. I mean, since not everybody has, how do we call it? Not everyone has the, not everyone actually has any of the testing tools. So I'm just going to put here localhost. And remember, we have to do question mark and pass your name. So let's say my name is Sammy. And it will just go back and say, hey, hello, Sammy. Cool, right? We've created our function. Very simple. Right? Now, this is running locally. It's not been published to Azure right yet. Now, this is some of the benefits you get from running functions locally. You can test it. Now, I can actually put the breakpoint here. I can put a breakpoint here. Where? Right? Oh, yeah, right here. Let's close this, and then actually run this again. And what's going to happen is that, check this out, the breakpoint was hit. Now I can use step over, step into, and step out to go through the code. So I can actually inspect it. So if you look closely, there's nothing in the body. But let's check the query parameters. Yes, there's something there. There's a name in there called Sammy. So you can actually do debugging locally, test everything before you push it. All right. So let's say that, yeah, I'm happy with this. My app is running as wanted. So if I do, let's see who's on the stream now watching us. Let's say if I do, let's say Kofi. All right, all we get is it's going to go back, run it. It hits the endpoint because I put a breakpoint here. We go through it, we come back, and it says hello Kofi. All right, that's cool. Now if you want to, you're done. You just have to press Shift F5 again, and then the debugging stops. So at this point, let's assume that we are satisfied with our function. All right, we're satisfied with it. Now, how do we publish the function to Azure so that it's accessible for other people to make use of? Now, also quite simple. Now, all we can do is now, all right, we can select this, right click this, and then do deploy to function app right here. All right, just right click on it and deploy to function app. Now, if you also go to, if you open the Azure tab here, right, it's actually going to show the local project you're working on. So you can actually also right click this one. You can actually select it and do publish or deploy to function app right here. So that is all we are going to do. So I'm going to publish it. Now, because we've already provisioned the functions app in Azure portal already, I'm just going to select it. When we get to the Visual Studio section, I'm going to show you how to provision that from within Visual Studio. Now, this is something you should be mindful of. Anytime you deploy, any new deployment you do, back into your Azure functions, it's going to override whatever is already there. So yeah, just be mindful of that. And then take note, do not mix the environment. When I say do not mix the environment, this is what I mean. Don't create a function in the portal and then come and edit it locally. It's known to have some issues. Or don't create functions in Visual Studio Code and go and edit it in the portal. You would have a lot of problems. Stick to it. If you want to do portal development, do it in the portal. If you want to do it in your local environment, do it in your local environment. Right? Pretty cool. Awesome. All right. So it's deploying. Now, once the deployment is done, what's going to happen is that I can now right click on it, get the URL, and then paste that URL into a browser, and then it's accessible. So right now it's accessible to pretty much anyone anywhere in the world who is on the stream right now watching us. So once that is done, I'll copy the URL, put it on the screen, and if you want to try it, hey, go ahead, just hit it, put your name there, and you are cool. Hopefully you would enjoy that. And then I'm going to take you to Visual Studio Code, and then I'll show you how to do that. In Visual Studio, and then we're going to set up also in Visual Studio. Now, once we are set up in Visual Studio and we run our first function, then I will come back and then we'll start to add the node modules and try to call an external API, and then we see how cool that is. And then when we're done, I promise you something awesome. So once we are waiting for that deployment to happen, now if you haven't downloaded Visual Studio, it's quite simple. Just open it. Just do this. Go in there and do Visual Studio. All right, it will take you to the download page. Visual Studio. Just open it. It's free. You can download Visual Studio Code, and then Visual Studio community is free. And for those of you on Mac also, hey, you can download this all up. You can use any of the IDEs. So you are sorted. Now, if you want me to do something specific in Java, let me know. If the demand is there, I will create one in Java for you. Well, now we don't need this, we don't need that. So I'll close that and we'll keep this down. All right, so our function has been deployed. So if we open this up, as you can see, if we go to functions, there is our magic number function. All right, let me actually bring this up a bit so it's much oh, that's too huge. Okay, so now when I right click on it, I can say copy function URL, and now I can open a browser, paste this there, and don't forget you're supposed to pass your name. So let's say name equals Azure, and then if everything goes well, oh sorry, pum 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 pum. Yep, there you go. And now, so the parameter is case sensitive. The parameter, because of the code didn't strip it down, so it's case sensitive. So you have to be careful about that. So we can do functions, whatever we put there, we're going to get that back. So now, that is how to set up Visual Studio Code, create a function, test it locally, and publish it to Azure. Now, if you want to check, it's in the portal. So that's cool. So let me close this for now, and that is how you can easily set this up in Visual Studio Code. Now let's go over into Visual Studio itself and see how we can set that. We mentioned that if you're using Visual Studio, it means that you want to do a C# function. All right. Now, if you're using Visual Studio 2017, all right, you need to install the Azure Function extension, right? 2017, you need to install the Azure Function extension. However, if you are using Visual Studio 2019, the extension is already part of Visual Studio 2019, so you don't need to do anything. For the sake of those that might be having Visual Studio 2017, I'm going to open that. I'm going to show you that quickly, and then I'll close it, and I will come back into Visual Studio 2019 as that's what I'll be using, all right? And from within Visual Studio, I will create a different I'll create a totally different functions app, because that's going to be C# based, and we can publish it there. Well, it looks like I have a lot of update for 2017. Well, I just keep this for backup compatibility, but like sometimes some projects are just stubborn. So you need to go, once you open Visual Studio, you need to go into, where is that? Yeah, you need to go into tools and then extensions and update. And then in here, make sure you are in online, and then look for, I think it's Azure Functions, Functions and something, Azure Functions and something called tools, right? Just type Azure Functions here, and you should find, so there you go, yeah, Azure Functions and Web Job Tools. You need to install this if you're using Visual Studio 2017. You need to enable this extension that gives you access to the template that you use to create functions from within Visual Studio Code. Sorry, Visual Studio. Don't mix it up. All right. So bear that in mind. So you have to come here, install it, close it, and then you can go to File, New, Project. And once that opens up, you just have to, well, you can simply go in here and type functions, right? And that shows you Azure what? Function. As simple as that. But we're going to be using Visual Studio 2019. So I'm going to close this down. And then we're going to open Visual Studio 2019. Awesome. So that's Visual Studio 2019 for you. And then we're going to have some fun. Bum, 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 bum. Okay, so it looks like today is Friday. People are chilling people. Okay, so I'm going to say create a new project. All right, and here, because I've used it already, it's showing in the recent project, I can just go and type functions. All right, and this opens up the functions template for me. So here you go, functions. So select it and then click next. I can give it any name I want, but I will say, I'll do function Friday CS. Let's see, Pam, 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 pam. Yep, solution name here, place solution in the same directory. Nope, so solution name, pam, pam, pam. There you go. Great. Now, so again, so now here, what version of .NET? Because remember that if you're using Visual Studio, you're actually creating a C# class library. So .NET Core version 2, that's what you want. We want an HTTP trigger. And then now, if you want to do some storage specific things, you need to use a storage emulator. Now, I have the storage emulator installed. I'll share the link also on where to get it. Now, remember the authorization level was set to what? Anonymous, which means that anybody can access the function HTTP anonymous, and then we do what? Create. Now, that's also going to bootstrap and prepare, scaffold the project for you. And when that's done, we're also going to see how to test that locally. All right. And then once we're done, we'll publish it also from within Visual Studio into what? Into Azure. So there's our code. Pretty, pretty sleek, right? So it's going to do some, yep, there we go. So just like you're writing any C#, so for those that are writing C#, you can do the same thing here as well. Simple, straightforward, all right? Now, if I want to test it, the same thing, I press what? F5. I can put breakpoints here. The same thing happens. We're going to, it's going to run the application, call the functions runtime, And then I can test and debug the application. If I feel like it is what I want, I can now publish it to what, to Azure. So from Visual Studio, I'll show you how to create a functions app and publish. Yeah, security reasons we need to allow this. Our storage emulator is running, so you can see it's calling the functions runtime again, and this is another endpoint. So I have a local endpoint here. It is now running. So let me go open our browser again. We can paste this, and remember, question mark name equals, and this is localhost, so everything goes well. We should see hello Sammy, and yep, we see that. So now locally from Visual Studio, we are doing the same thing. Again, I can also put breakpoints in here and test. Once I'm done, I press Shift F5, and then I leave. I'm out of debugging mode. So again, hypothetically, I'm done. I like the way the function looks. All right, I'm okay with the function. Now, how do I now publish this function into what? Into Azure. Now, so to do this, you just right click. Oh, sorry. So this is not in view because. So let me actually flip it here so you can see it properly. So I right click on the function project, and then I click on publish. So publish, publish, publish. Yes. So I'm publishing into Azure Functions the consumption plan. Remember I mentioned the consumption plan, which is the pay as you go. I'm going to create a new functions app. So, and then, yeah, I can go ahead and say publish. So this is going to take me through some steps, right, in creating the subscription. Remember that I have signed in with my Azure account. So it's going to go through my portal. So it's asking me the name of the function. I'll just remove this, keep it to CES, my subscription. And I'm going to put this in the Functions Friday resource group. Let's put it East US. Let's use the Functions Friday storage and then create. Right? We just have to wait. And then this is going to go ahead and create another functions app for us in Azure, and then it's going to deploy. All right, it's going to deploy our function in that functions app. Now, whilst that's going on, I'm going to bring you back to our browser, and now we're going to go over the two things we're going to use. Now, I want to show you something. Let me go to Numbers API. Now, I love this API because it actually allows you to call it and pass any number, any number to it, and it will tell you something about that number. So, for instance, if I just click here, let's say if I 45, 46, it's going to tell me something about the number 46. So let's say if I want to do 50. 50 is the height in kilometers that what volcano can shoot ash into the sky. So that's why I like this how do you call it? I like this endpoint or API. It allows you to just pass numbers and will tell you something random. Now the idea here is that we're going to call this API from our JavaScript function, right? Using a node package called Axios. Now, I'm deliberately doing this just to show you that you can actually include packages within your functions operating in Node.js, and then also you can use NuGet packages if you're doing C#. So you can include packages as you want. So we're going to use Axios to call this API, and then we're going to pass that to our function. So which means when you call our magic number function and you pass any number to it, it's actually going to give you a random, it's just going to respond with a random fact about that number. Now, the idea is that in next week's episode, I'm going to show you how we're going to integrate Twitter into this. So if you tweet at me with any number, we're going to let that Twitter API call our function, which we're creating today, with that number, get this random code, and then it's going to tweet that random code. It's going to tweet that random code back to you. How does that sound? So That's up for next week. So make sure you join me next week to do that. But right now, let's go add them up. So I'm going to go to npm. Whilst that is, and I think we have been published is okay, it's still ongoing. So, yep. So I'm going to go to, let's flip to our and go to Visual Studio Code, and then yeah, I'll just press this to terminate it, CLS. Now, if you've been doing no development, let's go to the application. You can see that it has a package.json file here. There is no dependencies at this point or at this moment. All right. So let's add that. So first of all, let's go back here and let's go here. Actually, I'll just Google it so that we can see. I'm looking for Axios. So I'm going to do this with you. Yep, this is the npm package we want. And there you go. So we need to run this npm install Axios. So I'm going to copy this. Let's go back here. And check this out. We don't have anything here. So if I run this, now this is going to install Axios in our application. So now, if we should close this and open this again, you see that Axios is added as a dependency in our application. So now, our application is ready to use Axios. And we're going to use Axios to call the endpoint. And then because we can test locally, we can actually debug and see what's happening. Now, so we're going to refactor this quite quickly. But before then, let's check if our well, yeah, it's successful. So now you see this. This is a site URL, right? This is the site URL. So if I copy this and we go here, let's try this. Paste this here. I need to do API front slash. How do we call it? 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 We called it. Okay, the function name is function1. Okay. Unfortunately, function1 question mark name equals Frank. Why did I choose Frank? Oh, I think I know why. Mr. Boyd. So there you go. Deployed to the world that can be used. And this was done from Visual Studio. All right. Isn't that cool? Now, so the assignment I'll give you guys is that I'm going to check this into the public repo, try to download it, and see if you can add on the C# application, you can add a NuGet package into the application and deploy it into your own Azure Functions app service. So let's go back to Axios. Now, it's saying that well, once that we've installed it, we need to use it. So let's go here. Actually, yeah, we can close that. Just make sure that, and then actually, well, I'm going to continue with Visual Studio Code, so I can close this. I'm just going to save everything, and then close this. And I'll make sure to check it in after the show so you guys can see it. All right, we are nearing there. We're nearing there. So let's come here. Cool. So now that we have Axios, okay. Now that we have it, okay. So what do? We need to add it. So I'm going to go all the way up here, and then I'm going to do const Axios. Hopefully I spelled it correct. And this is going to be equal to require. No, I'm not doing that one. It's going to be require, and then Axios, just because we installed it. So now, go out here. So now Axios is ready. I can save this. All right, Axios is ready to go. Now we're just going to go in here, tweak a few things. Now we know that we are not, well, I can just leave the same here, but this time around I'm going to change this parameter to what? To number, so that either you are passing it, so either you are passing the parameter number through the query, or you are passing it through the body. All right, and then hey,
Motion detected
oh,
at the front door.
sorry, that's my Alexa. Someone is at my front door, so it's showing. All right, so now the context is what is going to return the results. Now, unlike response that you have in, how do you say it, that you have in regular node applications, this within functions, it's context, and everything has to be within the module.export or functions to see that, and it supports async, so you're good to go. So from here, all right, from within here, um, we will not pass this within the context at the moment. We need to prep Axios and call the endpoint. So let's do this. Let's go back here. Let's go back here, and then our number. So let's look at the number API. So what does it say? It says that if you call what number api.com slash how do you call it 5 and math, you're going to get a math trivia. But if you call it without either math trivia or year, you're going to get a random one. So this is actually what we're looking for. So let me actually copy this. This is the endpoint you are looking for, all right? And to make things very easy, I'm also going to go ahead and create, let's say, const base URL is equal to this, and then I'm going to take out. So this is the base URL, all right? So which means that um, anytime we want to call the API, this is the endpoint we're going to call. All right. Now, I'm walking you through my workflow so you see how you can get a package of references. So now, I just is saying that to make a very simple get or post or whatever that is, all you need to do, all right, is call this. Just do this. Do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. All right. And that's it. Right. Just do this. So I'm going to copy this, and we're going to go back here, and we want to do all this here before we pass it into the context. So I've done this. I just copied and pasted. So we already have Axios here. So Axios.get. Now in our case, what are we calling? All right. The endpoint we are calling is in the base URL, right? So this is what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to use the string interpolation. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. Let's actually, you know what? Let's move this here because that is where we are. Let's cut this out from here. Yeah, I'm going to put this in here because this is where we are sure that we actually have. Let's go here. Yeah, this is where we are sure that we actually have the number. So I'm just going to do string interpolation here with a tilde, and then in here we're just going to say now the URL is going to be what? The base URL, right? And this is a base URL, HTTP number slash, and then what? Now we know we have what? We have a number. So I just put a number here. All right. This, that, and number. So now, and Axios is saying, pum pum pum. Oh, why am I putting it? Yeah, I just wanted this. Okay. So um, now this, so that then gives us a response. All right. I'll just say response. Okay, let's do yeah RES. All right. So it's a promise based library. So response is going to return, is going to give us a response, which means that we successfully got something. All right. So to test it, let's just leave this here. Let's just console.log this response. All right. This is just us being naive. All right. Now, if there's any error, we want to also log the error. Let's push this here. Let's push this here. Okay. I'm just trying to format it. I mean, so it's a bit clearer for you guys. Okay. Now, finally is, I mean, you're going to output something any which ways. All right. So before we do that, you know what? Let me, yeah, let me just, or you know what? Finally, let me just do this. Let me just say that, let's cut this out of here. Now, well, we don't need a finally here. So let's paste this here and then we can close this out. Okay. All right. So quickly, this is all the code is going to do. We're saying that when you pass in a number, we're going to get the number. We're going to call this API with a number, and then we're just as of now we're just consoling the result. Okay, and let me just, as of now, it's going to return the number you passed for now, but then we're going to change this to actually show you the result. But right now we're just consoling it. So let's run this. Remember to test it, you just you press what, F5. Now let's test the function and see if it's working. Now when we're satisfied with this, we're then going to push this into Azure, and it's going to be accessible for everyone to access. So we go. Yep. So this is our endpoint. Remember, we copy it. We go into our browser. I think I can close. Well, let's just leave Axios there. All right. I call this, and then remember now question mark number. It's no longer name. So let's do 25 and hit enter. Now, if everything went well, it's just supposed to tell us. It's just supposed to say 25. Return 25 to us. All right. Okay. So we didn't get 25. So now let's go in here and see what happened. Yep. So what did it say? It failed. System not private. Number is not defined. Number is not defined. Number is not defined. Oh, yeah. So my bad. Forgive me. I was actually, I was supposed to call the request.query.number. All right. But and I just said number. That's why it says the number is not defined. Yeah. So what we can do is that because we're expecting it from two places, I'll just say const number is equal to request or request.body.number. Yeah, so whether it's coming from the body or coming from the request, we now have number available to you. So you see why it's good to set up locally and to test. Now, yep, that goes off again, and then I can F5 again. And then we wait patiently. Okay, so looks like it's running. Oh, where is that? Where is that? Okay, yeah. So let me see. Hopefully, if it's running, this should just return. Oh yeah, the server is not running. Oh yeah, no, reopen. Well, let's reopen. I think I messed it up. Awesome. So let's just check. Let's just check and be sure that our function. Where is that? Node modules. Node modules. Opening up our index. Yep. So yeah. Yep. Okay. So just make sure that number is there. Requires that body. So now I can call number, and number should be there. And actually, because we are also in this, we should be able just to say hello and number, right? And then it should work. Actually, I don't like this. I like to use the proper thing, so I don't need to put a plus here. All I need to do now is to use the, and then yeah, save this. Oh yeah, this is the response. Okay, so with this, let's go ahead and run this. So hopefully, with that error fixed, with the endpoint, we should get something in the console, because now we are not outputting it. Yep. So let's copy this, come back to our browser. Yeah, it's the same thing. So now when I run this, it should, if everything goes well, it should, there you go. So hello 25 is correct. However, if we come back now, check this out. Let's check this out. Now you realize that it's return what? This is what it returned to us. Status, blah blah blah, incoming. But this is a data. It returned what? Data. 25 is the minimum age of candidates for election to the United States House of Representatives. All right. So it returned this object. All right. And this is like a huge. This is a huge object. Okay. Response has agent. It has what? A status. So let me. I'm going to keep this opening here, and then I'm going to change this to like 30, and then we call it again. And then when we go back here, you should see it says what? 30 is the minimum age for United States senators. So now what's happening is that we've used ArgUsed, deployed the node module. Now we can call an external API. Now how do we get this to return to you instead of the number? Now you can see that data is the object that has our response. So I'm going to come here, and yeah, I'll just stop this for now. And instead of just result, I'm going to say results.data. Now it's a good practice to console to just to see, to kind of see what's happening, all right, before you push it into before you push it into the cloud. So right now it's not going into Azure. Everything we're doing now, it's local. It's happening locally. So it looks like I killed my Visual Studio Code again. I killed it. Yeah, I'm actually directing all the power to my stream so that I don't drop frame. So I'm starving some of the applications. I'm starving some of the applications, but forgive me. It's just so that you can have a smooth stream. All right. So let's open our magic number and open our index. So what I wanted to do was, instead of console logging just res, we know that the object that has the information we want is what? Is data. So I'll just do this. And you know what? I can just go ahead. I can go ahead and create this. Let fact. I'm just creating fact. All right, and then just testing. Now we're going to press F5 again. Now this is how I normally go about my development. I test, I see what's happening, I get what I want, and then now I can properly, assign it. So let's go ahead. The endpoint is the same. There we go. So let's go back here, and then let's just tell 30. I'm going to call it again. I should put the 30 back into the browser for us. That's good. Let's check what happened. So now, what did we have? See, so there you go. 30 is the duration, all right, in years of the 30-year war, blah blah blah. So this is it. So this is it. I'm getting the data as I want it. Now that I'm getting the data as I want, now instead of, let's bring this down here. So instead of console logging rs results.data, remember we created a variable here called fact. So now I can say that my fact is now equal to what? res.what.data. Does that make sense? And then now, instead of saying returning the number, I can now go ahead and say this is your number, which is this is your this is your fact. Or let's say let's make it quite interesting. So this is no, well, let's just do this. Let's not kill ourselves. This is your random fact about the number, and then whatever number you passed. Okay, then we can do this, and this time around, what are we putting there? We put it in the variable what? Fact. So I do this, I save this, and then I can what? Rerun or restart, right? So if it won't, just go ahead, press F5. It should rerun again, and this time it's going to show us in the browser. All right, it's going to show us in the browser whatever fact that happens. And we are almost ready. Awesome. So let's go back here, still with the 30. I hit this. And now check this out. This is your random fact about 30. Whoa, undefined, undefined, undefined. So something is happening. Okay, so let's go check our code. And this is why we have it's good for you to test in what? In the local environment. So let's go. Let's go check out. Let's go check it out. So what's happening? Um, so because and this is why it's happening. The Axios is a promise-based library. Now, JavaScript, all right, as you've seen it, there's something called hoisting. So you can declare functions and stuff lower in code, but then they will run, they'll come up. Now, because we just put context or result here, all right, it just jumped when fact was not assigned. So to make this work, we have to move the whole of this, okay? We have to move the whole of this into when we have a result. So this is it. So it's only after we have a result that we're going to do this. Is that okay? So we save this, and then it's going to read, once you save, it redeploys that, okay, again. Pum, 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 and then F5. And this should run again. And hopefully, this time around, we should have our fact show in the browser. And when that happens, we'll call it a day. And in next week's episode, I'm going to show you how to consume this function we've created in something called logic apps that allows you to tweet a number at my handle, and then you're going to get a random fact shown to you. So let's go to the browser and check this out. Still with 30, hit it. And hopefully, if everything goes well, something went wrong because something didn't show. So you come here and let's see what do we have as a request, execution function, host locally is acquired, we executed it. Oh yeah, so what happened? Okay, you know what, I'm going to actually disconnect this and save this and run it again, just so I am sure. Bum, 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 ba-dum, bum. Else I'll just go ahead and dump it right in there. One function is running. Okay, let's go back here. You know what, let's try 25. Oh, I know why. Okay, so you need to explicitly call the context.end, for, how do you call it, for the function to know that it is done. So then let's go back to Axios. If you remember, they had a dot finally, which means that after everything is done, all right? So let's go modify our code and let's put it here so that dot finally, in the dot finally, we can actually move this. So we set, and then, so finally, this is always executed. Now we can pass this. So hopefully and ideally, this should end the context and then show us something interesting. Yep. Okay. I'm starving my Visual Studio Code again. I think I can close this. I don't need this, so I can close it so I can release some more. Okay, yeah, let's reopen. I starved it. Yep. Bum, 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 bum. I hope this is interesting enough for you guys, on especially on functions. There's a lot at stake that we we'll be doing with functions on this channel, and I have an announcement to make before we leave, so stay tuned. Okay, let's go to our functions. Let's open our index. We don't need this. I just want to be sure we've done the right thing. Oh yeah, it's just complaining about. Okay, so if this happens, is finally we get this else, the context, the status. It defaults to 200. Okay, so hopefully, and then F5. So let's see, we set the fact, and then oh, maybe we should console log it just to be sure that it's coming in as we want. Well, let's try it again. That's why we are local. Okay, so let's go back here. You know what? Let's shift F5. Let's stop this. And I'm going to console log this. Okay, console.log. I'm going to log the fact just to be sure that it's assigning it properly. Okay, and let's do this. Let me actually let me cut this out here. Actually, you know what? Let me take this out. And then console.log and then context. Okay, and you let me just let's just leave this here for now. I'm going to take this out. I just want to be sure that so let me do this. I'm going to do my string interpolation here, and then I'll say just making sure, and then we'll do this dollar for it. I just want to be sure that it's it's loading. All right, F5. Okay, so let's go back here. Oh, wait, something happened. Let's go here and see if I get my response. Okay, yep. So this ends it for me. Pum, 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 pum. And then let's go in here just to be sure that we're actually getting what we wanted. So where is that? So let's inspect the result. Where is that? Here looks like we have a lease. Okay, so this is it. So yeah, so just making sure, and then 25 is a percentage of all scald burns to children from hot tap waters. Okay, so this just to tell us that it's setting it. It's actually setting it. All right. So with that done, all right, so let me shift F5 this so we get out of it, so we don't actually kill it, so we are sure this is being set. Push. Oh no, it's frozen again. Oh, this is crazy. I'm going to reopen it. Okay, so there's something you need to be it gets me all the time. Now, when you're creating the node functions, right? You need to call the context dot done properly, Because if you don't call the context was done properly, what's going to happen is that Node is not going to know that your call is complete. So it's just going to, sit there and not give you anything. And I believe that's what we are, that's the problem we're having now. So to actually make this work, all right, to make it work, this is what I'm going to do. So instead of the console, all right, I'm going to, yeah. So I'm going to get rid of this. Okay, this is it right here. And then we're going to do this. So context, okay, dot result. This is our result, and then I'll put what? This is the fact. This fact, okay, this fact that we're calling. This is it. Now, once I am done with setting the context, I need to explicitly say what? Context dot what? I need to call the context dot done to tell it that hey, I am done. And once you are done, get out of there. Okay, so here I am instructing it that I am done. Set it, and then we're done. All right, so let's try this again. Let's press F5, and that is some of the gotchas you need to be mindful of. So hopefully it didn't bite me for too long. We will figure it out. Okay, and then let's go back here, keep it crossed. There is an error. Where is that? Where? Oh yeah. Okay. Okay, let's shift F5 again. Let's kill it. Let me be very, very sure. So, we get this, we do it then. I call the context dot done. Yep, yep, yep. Yeah, we set it context dot body, and then we call the context dot done here. Okay, oh yeah, oh, I'm killing Visual Studio Code. I'm starving it. Okay, let's open this again. Did it load? Did it load? Did it load? Yep. 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 Let's see. So we have our Axios. We do it then. We know this is there. We do it then. We call the context. Okay. 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 Let's try this. When this is done, let's pass this to the context and see. So we have, oh, it's blocked. Let me show you this so you can see the whole thing. So let's close this. So yeah, we know this is there. We've set this. So we're saying that when the result comes, it's the body. Let me get rid of the return. Let's see if it's the one that is causing my woes. Let's try this again. Yep. And that is how development happens. So hopefully hopefully, yeah, Mm, 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 mm. Yeah, another thing we can do, okay, is actually to say that we are um, we are waiting the response. Okay, that's another thing we can do. But let's run this. If this doesn't suffice, I'll just await the response, and then I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so let's do this. Um, oh, and this is going to freeze again. Hopefully it doesn't. Okay, so let's do this now. Because Axios is actually it's promise based, and we are in an async function. All right, I'm going to copy this as in the body. Okay, so let's cut this. I'm going to cut this out here. All right, and I'll put this here, which is just what we want to do. All right, with just the difference of we need to get the whole of this Axios, yeah, so it properly aligns. Good. Now, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to await, right? I'm going to await this the response from Axios. So before I call the I call Axios, all right? So I'm going to do this, all right? Let's do this. Um, I'm going to say that res is going to be equal to, I'm going to await. Okay, I'm going to try it this way. Um, await axios dot get. We set all that, right? And then in that case, I don't need to do a then and then. Um, let's do this. Let's do this. I don't need to do a then and a catch for now. All right. So I'm going to just cut this out. So I'm just awaiting it, go do this for me, right? I'm saying that go ahead Axios and go do. So await is going to wait for the response to come, right? And now once the response comes, I can go ahead and say that my fact, right, is equal to the response dot data. And now that I have the response dot data, I can now pass that in. So let's try this. Yep, let's try this. Refresh the page. And there you go. This is your random fact about the number 25. 25 is the number of years of marriage marked in silver wedding. So if I refresh this again, it's going to go back, call it again, come back. 25 is the number of cents in a quarter. If I call it again, this is it says what? 25 is, if I call this again, 25 is a number of points needed to win a set of volleyball, blah, blah, blah. If we change it to 40, all right, this is what we get. 40 is the number of years marriage as a ruby wedding anniversary. So now we are confident, okay, that our app or our function is working, all right? So let's stop this. So at this point, right, I'm happy with this function. This is what it does, right? I'm happy with it. I like it this way. Everything is cool. Then what do? We need to publish this so that it can be accessible over the internet for everybody to do. And if you remember that, we go here, select the local one, and then what? We publish. We select the function app, and remember this is going to override anything we have, so you have to be careful with that. Yes, deploy. So whilst we are waiting for the deployment to happen, time is fast spent. I'm excited to tell you that something really big is about to happen. It's really big because it's not been done before. Um, it's it's kind of like a new thing that myself and a couple of other engineers are playing around with. So very soon you're going to see a very cool show and something big is about to happen. That's all I can tell you. Now, so for next week, what's going to happen is that this functions that we've just created, this function we've created, that when you call it, it returns some information about a number, random number you send. We're going to consume it in the next Functions Friday. We're going to use Logic Apps to orchestrate it. And actually, when you tweet at me, you actually, with a number, it's going to pick that number, call this Azure function, and then return. Okay, it's going to tweet back at you. It's going to mention your tweet back at you with the fact. Isn't that cool? Now, awesome. So let's go here. Functions Friday node. Open it up. Go to our functions and open our function. I just want to get the URL for our functions. All right. So let's see. Let's go back here. So I'm going to right click this, copy function URL. Let's go to our browser. We are no longer in the local host. We are here. And remember, question mark number equals 100. Let's see what we get for the number 100. This is your random fact about the number 100. 100 is the number of common administrative groupings unit of homesteads in North Europe. Let's hit it again. Let's see what we get if you call this. So if you're home and you're watching this, try hitting this endpoint. Try something, play around with it, have fun. So until I come your way again next week with another episode of Functions Friday, it's been yours truly, Samuel Adranyi. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel, to the stream channel, to any of the platforms, Facebook, Twitch, YouTube. Subscribe, share, like, and then hit the notification bell down there so that if there's any release, you're going to get it. Remember that Sunday is Coding with Sam. I'm going to do something different. I'm going to show you, point out something that happened last week, show you something I found out, and then we're going to do something else, build on the application. So until then, stay safe, enjoy the weekend, learn something new a day, share something, and be good. Have a wonderful evening.